bevo.com.
Greg, you're known for your great communication skills throughout an organisation. So I know that back at the BBC, for example, you did everything from sort of emailing all staff through to going down to the canteen and chatting reasonably informally with the people around you. Could you give us a sort of A to Z of how to communicate magically throughout an organisation?
First of all, I've always been much better at communicating downwards than I am upwards, right? So it's I should have learnt some of the other. I might have survived longer in places. In a big organisation, how do you make people feel that you, as the management team, care about them, that you know what they're doing, that you value what they're doing? And that is about informing them and helping them and teaching them. And we did loads of emails to everybody. But you can't just, you've got to be careful. If you just do emails that they're the latest dirge come from the management, everybody goes to sleep. You know, oh, God. So they came from me. Only I could write them. No one else was allowed to write them. Could never be more than a page. They were just signed Greg. And they're always about trying to tell you something that mattered, something that was important. So sometimes you go weeks without sending one. And other times you go 2 in a week, but they've got to tell you something. They've got to be something that you'd be into. I mean, I had the advantage of having been trained as a journalist, so that you instinctively know, A, how to write in a way that people notice, and 2, what does matter and what doesn't matter to the people out there. And that's what we did. We just communicated with them, we just wrote them. Then we used, actually at one time we used to make videos. So I don't think people give enough time. In communications departments in companies, they spend all their time trying to communicate with the outside world and not enough time trying to communicate inside. And I think they got it the wrong way around. The outside bit is often sexier, so it appeals more to the press office and people like that. But actually, you've got to communicate inside. You've got to work out how do you do that, how do you do it effectively. The worst, particularly if you're in the media, which is a very high-profile industry, because the last thing you want to do is read it in the paper before you know it. So you want to tell them. If something big's happening, tell them on the day. Make sure there's an email going out to everybody. Make sure everybody knows before the media knows.
And is there any unintended consequences of communicating first internally?
Well, of course, you always take the disadvantage of that. The disadvantage is if you communicate something that is a good story, there's always someone in there that will put it out there and flog it. Yeah. But I mean, it's an interesting thing. Someone was telling me they met Fabio Capello the other day, and they said the most interesting thing about Capello said was the hardest job he's had to do is to stop his players reading and believing the sports press. And I think that applies to organisations like the BBC that are constantly in the spotlight. That actually, what we'll tell you the truth. You don't have to believe all that stuff. I mean, I remember being on the board of Manchester United at one time, and everybody on the board of Manchester United used to come in and say, "God, have you seen what's happening at Leeds?" And you'd say, "But it's not true, is it? You know what they write about Manchester United isn't true. So why do you believe what they write about Leeds?" Because I'm a sports journalist, it's just about the worst for being truthful and honest.
One of the things that you did so well at the BBC was you lifted not just the morale of the London central offices, which would be relatively easy for somebody like you to do that, but you raised the morale of all of the locations of the BBC across the UK. So what advice would you give to a CEO that wants to lift the morale of all corners of a multi-sited organisation?
You've got to spend enough of your time doing communicating. Getting out there. You've got to spend, I reckon 20-25% of your time now. That's the job of a CEO. Because the days when you could just say as a CEO, you do it, and they did it. Oh, the year's gone. Nobody does that anymore. They'll say they do it, but they don't do it. So what you've got to do is you've got to communicate. You've got to get them to understand what you're all trying to do, what you're trying to do. If you can all go in the same direction, it's easy, isn't it? Yeah. People make it much more complicated than it is. But part of the reason is people there's a terrible danger that as people go up the management chain, they change. They go from being people who are everybody knows, chats to, and the rest of it, to being people who suddenly think that because they've gone up the chain, they've somehow got to be aloof. They've somehow got to be separate. And that's a killer. There are a couple of guys called Rob Goffey and Gareth Jones who wrote a book which was called "Why Should Anybody Be Led by You?" and it said the single most important factor in leadership is authenticity. Are you really who you are, or are you someone that you've created? And the danger is people on going up the chain start becoming like they think managers should be, as opposed to just being them.
Like Richard Branson, you and he are both known for your being very authentic to your personality, and also, as we said earlier, you're very driven, but you also have a lot of fun in the workplace. I was once told that you were told off for making too many jokes, for example, in governor meetings. Is that
Yeah,
true?
it was suggested to me that I made too many jokes in meetings of the BBC governors. Now, the BBC governors are not people I loved by any means. I said to them, I make jokes in all meetings. That's part of the thing. I mean, I'm not going to walk into a BBC governors meeting and suddenly feel, I've got to revere these people. I mean, most of them I couldn't stand.
So, in actual fact, you should be more yourself, if anything. Is there anything?
I think you. Well, it depends how big the organisation is you're trying to run. Right? Small organisations, you can get around, you can communicate, they can all know you. The bigger and bigger it gets, that's harder and harder. Therefore, how do you communicate with them? How do they know about you? They know. I'm a great believer in this thing about stories. Right? You tell stories. All people tell stories about you. If you're the leader of an organisation, people always underestimate the things that people like about them, the things that they don't like about them, but the stories they tell. So if you walk in and you ignore the receptionist and you never say hello to the security guard and you book the lift in advance so there's nobody else that's in it, so that because you can go up on your own so you don't have to be bothered, that's the story they tell about you. And that is only negative. If you walk in and chat to everybody, say hello, meet people in the lift, talk to them, you go up to the canteen, you get your own food, you sit down with people, that's the story they tell about you. Simple as that. And what are you trying to achieve? You're trying to achieve that you're one of them. We're all on the same side, we're all trying to go in the same way.
But you're lucky because you've naturally got that gregarious personality there, haven't you?
I've learned that. My head of HR once said to me at BBC, you're not really gregarious at all, are you? And I said, no, I've learned it. I've learned how to do it. If you put me in a room full of strangers, I'd rather go and stand in the corner and talk to the 2 or 3 people I know. But you have to, if you want to lead an organisation, you can't do that. You've got to learn to go and talk. So I've learned over the years how to go and talk.
I think you've learned very well, sir.
But communicating to you is different. The media is another concept altogether. How to communicate with the media is a different thing, but how to communicate with the people who work for you, how to talk to them. Find out what's the problem. I mean, one of the things I did when I first went to the BBC, which is why they liked me, is I wandered around the place and I said only 2 questions. What can I do, what can we do together to improve our service to the public? And what can I do to make your life better? You see, because I think those 2 are absolutely intrinsically linked. If the staff feel good about the job, what they're doing, about the organisation, they'll do a better job.
One of the things that you say in your book that's particularly pertinent to me is the fact that your desk was usually quite messy, and that you were quite jealous, or you held in high regard Mark Byford's desk, because his was sort of well processed and sort of structured and clean. But can you tell me, but you didn't try and change it, and you sort of focused on yourself, just being Greg Dyke, and sort of, you focused on your strengths, not your weaknesses. Is that something that you think people should always do?
I used to be next to my mate Nick Evans when we ran a programme years earlier. He went on to write The Horse Whisperer and the rest of it. Nick and I, his desk was immaculate. Mine was a disaster. So whenever he used to go home, I used to go and work at his desk because it was nice and clean. I'd love to have had a desk like that, but it was never going to happen. And it still isn't. If you go into, I go into my office now. I work from home most of the time, and I go into that office, and it's just, my partner won't go in. She just keeps the door shut because it's just strewn with paper. I know the system, but no, I'd love to have a clear desk.
But then you also say you need to have people that complement you as well.
I mean, you have to have good finance people. You have to have good operations. You've got to have people who can do. But also, as I say, don't underestimate. You've got to have people who are prepared to say that's wrong.
Bevo.com